Commander Zachthar walked slowly into the Grand Council chamber, his body showing signs of battle. One limb was missing, and his hard outer shell was covered in scars. The room, filled with important aliens from across the Galactic Confederation, grew quiet as he entered. Eyes turned to watch him and whispers spread through the crowd. Zachthar had once been a respected leader of ships. Now he looked broken. The fight against the humans had changed him forever. He moved to the center of the round room, ignoring the looks of pity and concern. The rules said he should wait to be called upon, but Zachthar did not care about rules anymore. Not after what he had seen. "I demand to speak," he said, his voice rough and strange. The device that translated his words made odd noises as it worked. It too had been damaged in the fighting. High Counselor Vexmar, the leader of the meeting, looked down from her tall seat. Her skin was a pale blue, and her 4 eyes blinked in surprise at the interruption. "Commander Zachthar," she said, her voice soft but firm. "You are not well. You should be in the healing pools of Azulon, not here disturbing important business." "What I have to say cannot wait," Zachthar replied. He moved closer to the center platform, his 3 remaining legs making an uneven sound on the polished floor. "I have fought the humans. I have seen what they can do. They are unlike any species we have ever met." A low murmur spread through the room. The humans were a new race to the Confederation, only discovered 2 cycles ago. They lived on a small blue planet in a backwater part of the galaxy. When they had refused to join the Confederation peacefully, a standard show of force had been ordered. Zachtar's battle group had been sent to carry out this simple task. Only Zachthar had returned. "The humans have been contained," said Council Member Drelvan, waving a tentacle dismissively. "They remain trapped in their own solar system. Their ships are primitive. Their weapons are basic. They pose no threat to our expansion plans." Zachtar's breathing holes flared with anger. "You are wrong," he said. "They do not fight like rational beings. They do not surrender when defeated. They do not follow the rules of war that all civilized species understand." "Enough," Vexmar said. "Your mind has been affected by your injuries, Commander. It is not your fault. But humans are simple creatures. Yes, they fought harder than expected, but they are contained now. Our sensors watch their system. They cannot threaten us." Zachthar looked around the room, seeing only disbelief and dismissal in the faces of the council members. They had not been there. They had not seen their ships torn apart by human vessels half their size. They had not watched humans fight on even after taking wounds that would stop any normal being. "You must listen," he tried again. "The humans will be dealt with properly in time." Vexmar cut him off. "Thank you for your service, Commander. Now please, seek medical attention. This meeting will continue without further interruptions." Guards moved toward Zachthar, not roughly, but firmly. He knew there was no point in fighting. The council had made up their minds without ever seeing a human face to face. As he was led from the chamber, Zachthar felt a deep sense of dread settle in his body. The Confederation, with all its age and wisdom, had made a terrible mistake. And they would not listen to the one voice that could warn them. On Earth, in a room deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Navy Commander Frank Miller watched as dots of light moved on a large screen. Each dot represented an alien ship. For months, these ships had surrounded Earth's solar system, blocking all attempts to leave. Now finally, they were pulling back. "They're retreating," said Lieutenant Greg Powell, a young officer with a thin face and sharp eyes. "We actually did it." "Don't celebrate yet," Miller replied. He was an older man with lines on his face and gray in his short hair. 20 years of military service had taught him caution. "They'll be back. Bullies always come back unless you teach them a permanent lesson." The door to the war room opened and Samantha Wright walked in. She wore the same dark uniform as the men but carried herself with a quiet confidence that came from years of combat experience. "The President is asking for an update," she said. "The public wants to know if the war is over." Miller shook his head. "It's not over. This was just the first round. He pointed to the display where the alien ships were moving beyond the orbit of Pluto. The invasion had cost humanity dearly. Major cities lay in ruins. Millions were dead. The aliens had expected an easy victory, not understanding that humans would rather die than surrender their freedom. How bad were our losses? Wright asked, moving to stand beside Miller. Bad, he admitted. We lost 60% of our space forces. Most of our orbital platforms are gone, but we hurt them worse than they expected. That's why they're pulling back. Powell looked up from his computer screen. Intelligence just finished analyzing the wreckage of that alien cruiser that crashed in the Pacific. Sir, you need to see this. Miller and Wright moved to Powell's station. On the screen were images of strange technology, unlike anything humans had built before. Their faster-than-light drive is intact, Powell said, excitement making his voice higher. And the weapon systems. Our scientists think we can reverse engineer most of this. For the first time in months, Miller felt a small spark of hope. Humanity had been backed into a corner, forced to fight for survival against an enemy with better technology and more resources. But now they had something they didn't have before. Alien technology to study and copy. Get this to Dr. Martinez's team immediately, Miller ordered. Priority 1 clearance. Wright looked at the screen thoughtfully. They thought we'd be an easy conquest, another world to add to their collection. Their mistake, Miller said grimly. Now we know they're out there. We know what they're capable of. And next time, we'll be ready for them. He turned to look at the main display again, watching as the last alien ships disappeared from their sensors. In the old days, nations on Earth fought each other over land, resources, or ideas. Now, for the first time, all humans stood united against a common enemy. Send word to all commands, Miller said. The aliens are retreating, but this isn't victory. It's just a break in the fighting. As of today, every resource we have goes toward preparing for their return. Powell nodded and began typing commands into his console. Wright moved closer to Miller, speaking quietly so only he could hear. Do you think they'll come back soon? She asked. Miller shook his head. Not soon. They underestimated us once. They won't make that mistake again. They'll regroup, bring a bigger force next time. Then what chance do we have? Miller smiled, but there was no humor in it. They don't understand humans, Sam. They think like traitors and diplomats. We think like survivors. They gave us the one thing we needed. What's that? She asked. Time, Miller replied. And we're going to use every second of it. 5 cycles had passed since the Confederation retreat from Earth. On a small forgotten planet at the edge of Confederation space, Zachthar lived alone in a simple home built into the side of a rocky hill. The world, called Varen by its few settlers, was far from the busy centers of alien civilization. That suited Zachthar perfectly. His home was filled with screens and communication devices. Each day he monitored signals from across Confederation space, looking for news about the humans. Most aliens had already forgotten the failed mission to Earth. Life in the Confederation continued as it had for thousands of years, with trade, politics, and small border disputes filling the news. But Zachthar had not forgotten. He could not forget. Today, a rare alert flashed on one of his screens. A Confederation scout ship had detected unusual energy readings from the Sol system, home of the humans. The report was brief, dismissing the readings as natural radiation or sensor error. Zachthar knew better. He added the information to his growing collection of data. Over the past 5 cycles, there had been 12 similar reports, each one ignored or explained away by Confederation experts. But when Zachthar put them together, he saw a pattern forming. The humans were building something big. Zachthar composed a message to his old friend Drelvak, now a minor counselor in the Confederation government. It was the 20th warning he had sent. Like the others, he expected it would go unanswered. The humans are preparing, he wrote. The energy signatures match experimental faster than light technology. They are not contained. They are expanding. We must prepare. He sent the message, then limped to his food preparation area. His missing limb had never been replaced. The doctors could have grown him a new one, but Zachthar had refused. The missing leg was a reminder of human determination, of what happened when you underestimated them. As he ate his simple meal, Zachthar wondered if any of his warnings would ever be heard before it was too late. Deep beneath the surface of Earth's moon, Dr. Olivia Martinez stared at the glowing blue core of the engine. It pulsed with power, casting eerie shadows across the vast underground chamber. Dozens of engineers and scientists moved around the machine, making final adjustments. 8 years, she said softly. 8 years to reverse engineer their technology. Alan Jackson, the lead physicist on the project, nodded beside her. He was a tall, thin man with dark skin and hands that never seemed to stop moving. And we improved. He said proudly. Their FTL drives were efficient, but they didn't push the boundaries, we did. Martinez smiled. Humanity had always been good at taking ideas and making them better, faster, more deadly. After the invasion, the nations of Earth had put aside their differences to focus on one goal, making sure aliens never threatened their world again. Is it ready for the final test? She asked. Jackson nodded. The Defiance is fully equipped. Captain Bradley is ready whenever we give the word. They looked up at a large screen showing a massive ship hanging in space near Jupiter. The UES Defiance was humanity's first true starship. Built in secret inside the hollow moon of Jupiter called Ganymede, it represented humanity's greatest achievement and their greatest hope. Then let's not keep her waiting, Martinez said. She pressed a button on her tablet, opening a communication channel. Captain Bradley, this is Dr. Martinez. The core is stable. You have permission to begin the test sequence. In the command chair of the Defiance, Captain Lisa Bradley took a deep breath. Around her, the bridge crew waited for her orders. Each person had trained for years for this moment. Communications tell launch control we are beginning the test, she said. Engineering, start the drive warm-up sequence. Her second-in-command, Commander Eric Stone, moved to stand beside her chair. He was younger than Bradley, with light brown, hair cut short and serious eyes. After this, there's no going back, he said quietly. Bradley nodded. There was no going back the moment they attacked us, Eric. They thought they could keep us trapped in our own solar system forever. They were wrong. On screens around the bridge, numbers and status indicators flashed as the new engine powered up. The ship hummed with energy. Bradley could feel it through the floor, through her chair, like a living thing eager to run. All systems are go, Captain, reported the chief engineer over the comm. The drive is stable and ready. Bradley looked at the main view screen, which showed the vast emptiness of space beyond Jupiter. Somewhere out there were the aliens who had tried to conquer Earth, who had killed millions of people, who thought humans were weak. Set coordinates for the test jump, she ordered. Let's show the universe what humans can do. In the grand hall of the Confederation capital, Minor Counselor Drelvac sat through another boring meeting about trade, routes, and taxation. His mind wandered as a representative from the agricultural worlds droned on about crop shipments. His communication device buzzed softly against his skin. Another message from Zachthar. Drelvac had great respect for the old commander, but these warnings about humans had become an obsession. No one in the Confederation government took them seriously anymore. Still, out of loyalty to his former superior, Drelvac opened the message and read it quickly. Energy signatures, faster than light experiments. The same warnings as before. He was about to close the message when a new alert appeared on his device. A priority communication from the monitoring station at Proxima Centauri, the closest star system to Earth. The station reported unusual energy readings, then went silent mid-transmission. Drelvac felt a cold feeling spread through his body. He looked back at Zachtar's warning, then at the alert from Proxima Centauri. For the first time, he wondered if the old commander might be right. The meeting continued around him, the representatives still arguing about shipping costs and trade deals. None of them knew that just 4 light years from the human homeworld, something had happened, something that might change everything. On the agricultural world of New Harvest, Governor Patrick Murphy watched the alien overseers from behind his human mask. The aliens thought he was just another human slave, captured during the Earth invasion and transported to work in their fields. They had no idea he had once been a colonel in Earth's special forces. They had no idea he was waiting. His hidden communication device vibrated against his chest. 3 short pulses, the signal he had been waiting for. He casually moved to the edge of the field, pretending to drink water from a container. The alien guards paid him no attention. Humans were considered harmless without weapons. Another mistake. Murphy pressed the device once, sending back a single pulse. Across the plantation fields, 20 other hidden humans received the signal. The Defiance had successfully tested its FTL drive. The next phase was beginning. Murphy looked up at the sky. Soon, very soon, the aliens would learn what happened when you enslaved humans and treated them like animals. When you attacked their homeworld and thought you could just walk away. Soon they would learn why Zachthar's warnings should have been heeded. The Confederation outpost on Proxima Centauri III was small and quiet. Only 20 staff members operated the listening post that monitored the nearby human solar system. No one expected trouble. The humans were trapped behind the blockade, their technology too primitive to break free. That was what everyone believed. The night shift supervisor, Krendal, was the first to notice something strange on the sensors. A small blip appeared at the edge of the system, then vanished. Sensor malfunction, he thought. The equipment was old and rarely updated. Who would waste new technology on a backwater listening post? He was about to log the error when the station's lights flickered. The main doors slid open. Krendal turned, expecting to see one of his staff. Instead, 5 figures in strange dark suits stood in the doorway. Their faces were hidden behind black visors. "Who are you?" Krendal asked, reaching for the alarm button under his console. One of the figures stepped forward and removed its helmet. A human face looked at him, female with short blonde hair and cold eyes. "We're your replacement crew," the human said in perfect Confederation language. Before Krendal could press the alarm, a small dart hit his neck. The world went black. When the quarterly inspection ship arrived at Proxima Centauri 3 weeks later, they found the outpost operating normally. The staff wore standard Confederation uniforms and spoke the proper languages. The inspection team had no reason to suspect anything was wrong until they were all in the main control room, the doors locked behind them. The staff removed their face-disguising field projectors revealing human features. "Welcome," said the leader of the humans. "Your ship is now ours." Minor Counselor Drelvak sat in his private chamber, reading the 3rd report of an outpost going silent. First Proxima Centauri, then a research station in the Beta Hydri system, and now a colony world in the Tau Ceti system. Each time the same pattern. Communications suddenly stopped. Inspection ships never returned. The Confederation Council was finally taking notice, but they still didn't understand what was happening. They sent larger ships, more inspection teams. These too disappeared. Drelvak thought of Zachthar's warnings. The old commander had predicted this. The humans were not contained. They had been preparing, building, planning their revenge. Making his decision, Drelvak packed a small bag with personal items. He would not wait for the slow-moving council to act. He needed to find Zachthar, to learn everything the veteran knew about humans. It might be the only way to save what was left of the Confederation. On the agricultural world of New Harvest, Governor Patrick Murphy removed his false alien identity skin for the last time. Around him, in the large storage barn, 200 human slaves were gathering. Some had been on this planet for years, captured during the invasion of Earth. Others were born here, knowing only life under alien control. All of them knew what was happening tonight. "The UES Liberator will arrive in 1 hour," Murphy told them. "We need to secure the communication center before they get here." The humans nodded. For years they had been smuggling tools and weapons from around the plantation, hiding them for this moment. The aliens thought humans were docile workers. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Remember," Murphy continued, "we want to take control with minimal loss of life. There are alien species here who can be our allies. The overseers and security forces are our targets, not the civilian population. A young man raised his hand. What about the families of the overseers? They live in the north section. Non-combatants are to be contained, not harmed, Murphy said firmly. We are not here for revenge. We are here for freedom, and to show that humans are not what the Confederation thinks we are. The group broke into smaller teams, each with specific targets. Murphy's team would take the main communication center. From there, they could contact the approaching human ship and shut down the automated defense systems. As they moved through the darkness toward the alien buildings, Murphy thought about Earth. He hadn't seen his home in 8 years. He wondered how much it had changed, how much humanity had advanced while preparing for this day. He would find out soon. After tonight, New Harvest would have a new name, New Terra. The first human colony beyond the solar system. Zachthar was in his garden when the small ship landed nearby. He was not surprised. He had been expecting visitors for some time now. He watched as Drelvak emerged from the ship, looking tired and worried. The minor counselor had aged since Zachthar last saw him. You have finally come, Zachthar said, which means it has already started. Drelvak nodded. 3 outposts gone. Maybe more that we don't know about yet. The council is in chaos. No one understands how the humans could have advanced so quickly. Zachthar made a sound that might have been a laugh. I tried to tell them, humans do not think like us. When we are defeated, we seek compromise. When humans are defeated, they become more dangerous. He led Drelvak into his home, to the room filled with screens and data. 8 years of monitoring, of gathering information that no one wanted. Look, he said, pointing to a star map. Each red dot is a place where I detected unusual energy readings from the human direction. The pattern shows their testing, their expansion. I sent warnings about each one. Drelvak stared at the map. There are so many, and these are only the ones I could detect from here, with my limited equipment, Zachthar said. The Confederation ignored the humans, thinking they were safely contained. Meanwhile, the humans were studying our technology, improving it, preparing. What do they want? Drelvak asked. Revenge? Zachthar touched a screen, bringing up an image of a damaged Confederation ship. Partly, but humans are more complex than that. They want security. They want to ensure no one can threaten them again. How do we stop them? Zachthar turned to look at his former junior officer. You still don't understand. We can't stop them. That time has passed. Now we can only hope to survive them. Admiral Karen Foster stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance, the largest warship ever built by human hands. Through the view screen, she could see the Confederation shipyards orbiting the star Bellatrix. The aliens had no idea humans had the ability to reach this far into their territory. All ships report ready, Admiral, said her communications officer. Strike teams are prepared for deployment, Foster nodded. Around Bellatrix, 20 human ships waited in stealth mode, invisible to Confederation sensors. The technology that made this possible had been developed from studying the alien ships that crashed on Earth during the invasion. The Confederation expects us to attack head-on, Foster said to her bridge crew. That's how they fight wars. Announce your presence, engage in formal battle. We're going to show them how humans fight. She turned to her navigation officer. Prepare for micro-jumps. I want 5 ships to appear inside their defense perimeter, right on top of their command stations. The rest will target their power cores and weapon platforms. The officer looked nervous. Ma'am, micro-jumps within a gravity well are still experimental. The calculations have to be perfect, or they will be perfect, Foster said firmly. We've trained for this. The Confederation doesn't believe such jumps are possible. That's our advantage. She looked back at the shipyards. They would be the first major Confederation facility to fall to humans, not the last. Begin the operation, she ordered. Let's teach them why they should have listened to Zachthar. The Confederation capital world was in chaos. Refugees poured in from outer colonies and outposts that had fallen to the humans. The once beautiful spaceport was now crowded with scared aliens from dozens of species, all carrying what little they could save before fleeing. In the Grand Council chamber, High Counselor Vexmar faced an angry crowd of representatives. Once the highest authority in the Confederation, she now struggled to maintain order. "How could this happen?" shouted a representative from the trading worlds. "You told us the humans were contained." "Our intelligence was wrong," Vexmar admitted. "We underestimated their ability to adapt and develop our technology." "The shipyards at Bellatrix are gone," said the military commander in charge of fleet operations. 20 of our finest warships destroyed in minutes. The humans used some kind of jump technology we thought was impossible." The room erupted in shouting again. Vexmar tried to speak over the noise, but no one was listening anymore. At the back of the chamber, a group of junior counselors whispered, together, casting angry looks at Vexmar. The next morning, Vexmar found herself locked out of the council chambers. A new group had taken control, led by High Counselor Trinax, a young politician who promised decisive action against the human threat. The first act of the new leadership was to send a message to a small, forgotten planet at the edge of Confederation, space. Admiral Karen Foster watched the recording of the Bellatrix operation from her new office on the captured Confederation station. The human ships appeared inside the alien defense perimeter exactly as planned. The Confederation vessels barely had time to power up their weapons before precision strikes disabled them. "Minimal casualties, maximum impact," she said to General Daniel Ross, who stood beside her. "Just as we planned." Ross nodded. A tall, broad man with dark skin and a serious expression, he was in charge of ground operations for the human forces, the YI. New Terra operation was equally successful, he reported. Murphy's people took control of the entire planet with fewer than 20 casualties on either side. Most of the alien civilian population has accepted the new human administration. Foster turned off the recording. "The Confederation is finally taking us seriously. Their fleet movements show they're pulling back to defend their core worlds, which gives us time to consolidate our gains," Ross said. "We've established control in 7 systems now. The question is, what's our next move?" Foster brought up a star map showing Confederation space. Large sections were now marked in Earth blue, rather than Confederation purple. "Intelligence reports the Confederation has replaced their leadership," she said. "The new High Counselor is someone named Trinax. Apparently he's reached out to Zachthar." Ross raised an eyebrow. "The alien commander who tried to warn them. About us? Interesting?" "Very. They're finally listening to the one person who understood what they were dealing with." Foster zoomed in on a section of the map. "Our next target is here, the supply hub at Epsilon Eridani. If we take that, we control the resource flow to 1/3 of their remaining territory." Ross studied the map. "The civilian population there is nearly 1 billion, mostly non-combatants. Which is why you'll be in charge of the operation," Foster said. "We need to show that humans can be fair rulers, not just effective warriors. If we're going to build something lasting out of this war, we need allies, not just conquered subjects." Zachthar stood before the new Confederation High Council, leaning heavily on a walking staff. His scarred body seemed small in the large chamber, but his voice was strong as he spoke. "You ask me now how to understand the humans," he said. "After years of ignoring my warnings, after dismissing me as damaged and delusional." High Counselor Trinax leaned forward in his seat. Unlike his predecessor, he was young and had never known the Confederation in its days of unchallenged power. "Yes," he admitted. "We were wrong. The former leadership was wrong. Now we need your help, Commander. You are the only one who has faced these humans in battle and lived to speak of it." Zachthar looked around the room. Many of the faces were new, younger. The old guard had been pushed aside when their failure became clear. "The humans do not think like us," Zachthar began. "When we fight wars, we have rules, limits, acceptable outcomes. For humans, survival is the only rule. They do not see defeat as a reason to negotiate. They see it as a reason to become stronger." "But what do they want?" asked a counselor from the science worlds. "If we offered them territory, resources, technology—" "You still do not understand," Zachthar interrupted. They have taken your technology and improved it beyond what you thought possible. They don't need your resources. They don't want your charity. He stepped closer to the council table. 8 years ago, you attacked their world. You killed millions of their people. You thought you could force them to join the Confederation on your terms. Now they are making their own terms. So it is revenge, Trinax said quietly. Partly, Zachthar agreed. But humans are more complex than that. They seek security above all. They will not stop until they are certain you can never threaten them again. How do we negotiate with them? Asked another counselor. There must be some way to end this conflict. Zachthar's laugh was bitter. Now you want to negotiate? After they have shown their power? You should have negotiated when they were weak. Now you must deal with them from a position of weakness. On the newly renamed planet of New Terra, General Daniel Ross walked through a market where humans and aliens shopped side by side. 6 weeks after the liberation, life was returning to normal. Many of the alien civilians had chosen to stay, accepting human rule as preferable to becoming refugees. Ross stopped at a gathering where a human teacher was explaining Earth history to a mixed group of alien and human children. The aliens seemed fascinated by stories of human wars, human cooperation, human survival against the odds. We aren't so different, the teacher was saying. Both humans and Lintarians evolved on worlds with predators. We both value family groups. We both create art. Ross smiled. This was what he had hoped for. Understanding between species, not just conquest, but the beginning of something new. His communication device buzzed, a message from Admiral Foster. The operation at Epsilon Eridani would begin in 3 days. Ross was needed back on the command ship. As he walked back to the landing pad where his shuttle waited, Ross thought about what would happen after the war. Humans had spent 8 years preparing to fight the Confederation. They had not spent much time planning what would come after victory. General Ross, called a voice. Ross turned to see an alien child running toward him, holding a drawing. I made this for you. Ross knelt down to take the offered paper. On it was a simple drawing of humans and aliens standing together under a sun. Thank you, Ross said, carefully folding the drawing and placing it in his pocket. This is what we're fighting for. 2 cycles had passed since humans broke free from their solar system. Half of the once mighty Confederation was now under human control. What remained had split into competing groups. Some wanted to fight the humans to the last ship. Others sought peace on any terms. Zachthar stood by a large window on the human flagship UES Accord. The ship was larger and more advanced than any vessel the Confederation had built. Through the window he could see the stars in the blue-green world below, a neutral meeting place chosen for the peace talks. It's strange, he said to Admiral Foster, who stood beside him. I spent years trying to convince my people that humans were dangerous. Now I am helping humans convince my people to surrender. Foster nodded. Unlike many human military leaders, she had come to respect the old alien commander. Though once enemies, they now worked toward the same goal, ending the war with minimal, further bloodshed. Not surrender, she corrected him. Alliance. That's what General Ross is proposing down there. On the planet's surface, representatives from the remaining Confederation worlds were meeting with General Ross and the human diplomatic team. After 2 years of fighting, many aliens had come to see humans not just as conquerors, but as potential allies against greater threats that lurked in the unexplored regions of the galaxy. Do you think they will accept his terms? Zachthar asked. Foster turned from the window. They should. Ross is offering them autonomy under a mutual defense agreement. It's far more generous than what most conquerors would propose. But humans are not like most conquerors, Zachthar said. It wasn't a question. Foster smiled slightly. No, we're not. We don't want slaves or subjects. We want security and allies who respect us. Her communication device buzzed. She checked it, then looked back at Zachthar. The first round of talks is finished. Ross wants us both to join them for the next session. In the meeting hall on the planet's surface, General Ross stood as Admiral Foster and Zachthar entered. Around a large round table sat representatives from 23 Confederation worlds. Some looked angry, others defeated, a few seemed cautiously hopeful. Thank you for joining us, Ross said, gesturing to empty seats. We were just discussing the details of the Defense Pact. High Counselor Trinax, now representing only half of what had once been the Confederation, nodded stiffly to Zachthar. Your presence here is appropriate, Commander. You warned us about the humans. Perhaps you can now help us understand them. Ross activated a holographic display in the center of the table. It showed a map of known space, with human-controlled territories in blue, remaining Confederation worlds in purple, and neutral or unexplored regions in gray. Our proposal is simple, Ross said. Each world maintains its own government and laws. Trade flows freely between all worlds, and we form a joint military command to ensure the safety of all our peoples. A joint command? Asked a representative from a mining world. You mean human command, surely? No, Ross said firmly. Joint command. Humans and non-humans working together, sharing technology and resources. We've already begun this successfully on worlds like New Terra, Foster spoke up. We could continue the war. We have the military advantage now, but that's not what humanity wants. What does humanity want? Asked Trinax, his 4 eyes fixed on Foster. The same thing we've always wanted, she replied. To ensure no one can ever threaten our existence again. But we've learned something important during this conflict. Security doesn't come from conquest. It comes from cooperation. The talks continued for hours. Some representatives argued for better terms, others warned against trusting humans. A few spoke in favor of the alliance, including leaders from worlds that had already experienced human rule and found it fair. Throughout it all, Zachthar watched and listened, occasionally clarifying points for both sides when cultural misunderstandings arose. He had spent years studying humans. Now he helped his own people understand their former enemies. On Earth, the anniversary of the original Confederation attack was now a solemn holiday. People gathered in rebuilt cities to remember those lost in the alien invasion 8 years earlier. In what had once been San Francisco, now a gleaming city of new buildings and technology, Dr. Natalie Johnson prepared for a special interview. As a historian documenting the conflict, she had spoken with military leaders, politicians, and civilians from both sides. Today, she would interview the alien who had tried to warn his people about humans. Zachthar arrived at her office precisely on time. Though still bearing the scars of war, he moved more easily now with a new prosthetic limb designed by human and alien scientists working together. Thank you for agreeing to this interview, Johnson said, gesturing to a chair designed to accommodate his alien form. Your perspective is unique. You fought against humans, tried to warn your people about us, and now work alongside us. Zachthar settled into the chair. It has been a strange journey. Johnson activated her recording equipment. Let me start with the question many people ask. Did you know it would end this way? Did you foresee humans defeating the Confederation? Zachthar was quiet for a moment. His large, compound eyes looked out the window at the rebuilt city, a monument to human determination. I knew humans would fight back, he finally said. I knew they would not accept defeat or containment. What I did not foresee was their capacity for restraint. Restraint? Johnson asked, sounding surprised. Yes. When I fought humans during the invasion, I saw only their ferocity, their refusal to surrender even when outmatched. I warned my people about human determination, human ingenuity in battle. But I did not understand that humans could be equally determined in seeking peace. He turned back to face her. General Ross could have conquered the entire Confederation. Instead, he offered partnership. This was unexpected. As they continued talking, news arrived on Johnson's communication device. The last holdout worlds of the Confederation had signed the alliance agreement. The war was officially over. Your thoughts on this news? Johnson asked Zachthar, showing him the message. The alien veteran was quiet again before answering. Perhaps we needed humans more than we knew. The Confederation had grown complacent over thousands of years, stagnant, afraid of change, and now we face the unknown together, Zachthar said. There are threats beyond known space that neither humans nor the Confederation could face alone. Old enemies of my people who may return. Mysteries in the darkness between stars. Johnson turned off her recorder, the formal interview complete. One last question, off the record. After everything that happened, do you regret trying to warn your people about humans? Zachthar made a sound that Johnson had learned was laughter. No. I was right to warn them. I was simply wrong about what they needed to fear. And what was that? I thought they should fear human vengeance, human weapons, human determination in war, Zachthar said. Instead, they should have feared becoming irrelevant. Humans change everything they touch. The galaxy will never be the same now that they have joined it. He stood, preparing to leave. Your people remind us of an important truth we had forgotten. What's that? Johnson asked. That the most dangerous force in the universe is not cruelty or technology, Zachthar replied. It is necessity. And nothing creates necessity like survival.